My op-ed today over at HartmannReport.com is titled, "Can Voter Suppression Hand the 2024 Election to Donald Trump?" And it's largely based on the information that Greg Palast presented on this program on Friday. So I won't belabor it. I just want to point out in some detail that down in Georgia, Georgia was the first state to allow this. It was SB 202. It allowed mass voter challenges. And so you got, these people like Pam Reardon and Alton Sterling, these Republican operatives. Pam Reardon challenged 32,000 votes. Alton Sterling challenged over 4,000 votes. They're getting the list from this group called True the Vote out of Texas, and in most cases. And, fortunately, Pam Reardon's list was blocked, but Alton Sterling's, his 4,000 mostly black people got thrown off the rolls. In fact, one of them was a major general, Gamaliel Turner, who had been assigned to an Air Force base in California, or a military base, I think it was a naval base actually in California, and he was still, his legal residence was still in Georgia. He was getting his mail in California, but, he lived in Georgia. And so he was going to absentee vote, and they threw him off the voting rolls. And so Greg invited Alton Sterling, the guy who submitted General Turner's name to be purged and successfully purged him off the voting rolls. He invited Alton Sterling over to Turner's home without telling him that it was the home of a man he'd purged. And then, he said, this Gamaliel Turner, this major general in the military, you wanted him purged because he moved out of state. And Alton Sterling is like, yeah, he moved. And Greg said, well, let me introduce you to General Turner. And General Turner walks out of the bedroom and introduces himself, and blows Mr. Sterling's mind. But this is what's going on. And now we've got five other states, that have adopted this same thing, including Arizona and Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Texas. And I realize Arizona, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin now have Democratic governors, and so it's going to be a little harder. But in Texas, they're going to go full tilt boogie on this thing. Now, we do have a law that says that we have a right to vote. The National Voting Registration Act says, this is from the preamble, it says, Congress finds that the right of citizens of the United States to vote is a fundamental right. I mean, it's right there. Now, if you have a right, government can't take that right away from you without due process. For example, if you own a gun and the government wants to take that gun away from you, the government of the state of Georgia, for example, wants to take your gun away, they have to go to court. They have to get a judge to sign off on it. But if they want to take your vote away, they don't have to do squat. They don't even have to tell you that they took your vote away. So, what I'm calling for here, and I think it's a pretty important call, is for Congress, once the Democrats have Congress back, once they take back the House of Representatives, and that may happen in the next few months, God only knows, but certainly next year if we can prevail in this election. When Democrats have the House, the Senate, and the White House, the first order of business has to be passing legislation, that absolutely unambiguously, and I would say the NVRA already does this, but the Supreme Court ignored it. In the 2018 case where John Husted, the Ohio Secretary of State, was sued for purging hundreds of thousands of black voters in Cincinnati and Cleveland off the Ohio voting rolls. In that case, Sam Alito, who wrote the decision, said, he identified the National Voting Rights Act and said, or Voting Registration Act, and said that this doesn't apply. Now, that's, the opinion of the majority of the Supreme Court, and there was a pure Republican majority. There wasn't a single Democrat on the court who went along with that. It was a 5-4 decision. But that, and similarly in the Shelby County case, the 5 Republicans who were then on the court said, there's no racism anymore. Look, we got a black president here, so therefore, the race problem is solved, and we can let these states that used to be required to have pre-clearance before they purged black people from the voting rolls to just go ahead and purge all the black people they want. And they're doing it. They're absolutely doing it. You know, Joe Biden won Wisconsin by what? You know, 11, 20, between 10 and 20,000 votes. He won Georgia by 11,800 votes, I think it was, or whatever Donald Trump was begging for. He won Michigan by a relatively slim majority. Actually, the majority by which he won in the 3 primary swing states that did determine the election was 44,000 votes. And Republicans so far in those states have purged several 100,000 black voters off the voting rolls in anticipation of the 2024 election. So this election is going to be hard fought, it's going to be difficult, and it's going to be tighter than we ever imagined. The deciding factor could be women, but again, because Georgia just passed a law that you can't register to vote unless the name on your birth certificate is the same as your driver's license, married women are in big trouble.
Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Because, you know, most married women have a birth certificate that has a different name on 90% of married women took their husband's name at marriage.